I was gonna ask too. So, what inspired you to go ahead and try to put this into not just a solo performance, not just working with Beatbox House, not just doing gigs and gig work as people call it, but what made you want to go and get into rapping specifically and pursue that on its own path aside from beatboxing, even though they're somewhat married, but you have now this EP again, Small Room. What inspired you to go and work towards making an album?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up listening to hip hop, listening to like Wu-Tang, Eminem, DMX, 50 Cent, like all of the big names. And the reason why I love hip hop so much is because it's just honest music. Like it's raw expression, and I always love that. Um, and I always used to freestyle since I was young. Like even back in high school, like I had few friends, a couple friends that were also beatboxing. So sometimes we would take turns switching back and forth, and I would rap. I would write lyrics here and there, but it was more like a hobby for me. Beatboxing was something I really wanted to, pursue. And it was not until like a few years ago, every time all of the beatboxers we'd be hanging out, um, we'd be getting into ciphers, and then we'd start like freestyling with each other. And then every time I would get into it, I would always get a lot of like positive feedback. People being like, "Yo, like you're a good rapper. Like you can actually freestyle really well. Like you have a good voice. You have good delivery. Like why don't you start writing more and doing like actually pursuing it a little bit?" And at first I was like, I don't know, like, because I would be going to all of these crazy hip hop shows and seeing all of these dope rappers, and I'd be like, I could never reach this level. Like, it would take so long. Like, I feel like I'm too late in the game right now. But there was also this part of me. Every time I would watch them, I'd be like, they're great, but I know I have something different to offer. Um, I know like who I am, and I know if I really like dive into this, I can I can get really good at it if I practice. And so it started 2 years ago where I started taking writing seriously, because before then I would just like write here and there. It would be very on and off, just occasionally. Um, but I always felt like every time I wrote, like my heart would just expand. Like I felt like
Mm.
my being was happy every time I would rap. So I was like, I just got to keep doing it. So last year, I was just writing a lot, writing a lot. And then it came to a point, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to put out a project, and it's just going to be just the raw version of me, very honest. Because I listen to a lot of hip hop, and like, there's a lot of artists that like talk about a lot of things that they've never done, or to them like rapping is just very fun and they like playing with wordplay. But for me, like, I've always seen hip hop as like expressing your emotions to the fullest and things that you're going through. So I really wanted to like put all of that into words, and that's what Small Room is. It's like literally everything that I've gone through, from like, you know the song Schizo, like me going through my mental illness phase, and then from Who Am I, me having like this existential like crisis, trying to figure out like what is this life all about. That's like my spirituality. And then the last two songs, which is about love and heartbreak, everything is true. Like they're all true stories. Everything's something that I've been through. So I felt like if I really put my heart into it, and was completely honest with my music, um, I know people are gonna, feel it. And it took me a while to really start getting comfortable with what I was writing and being like, this is actually pretty good. Like, I think I want to start putting something out right now. And that's when Chris came in the picture. Chris was already at the time making beats, and that's crazy, like how the universe works. Like it was just meant to be like that. Like I go over to Chris's house and he was making beats, and I was like, "Yo, that's fire! Let me get that though." So it just started like that. And I told Chris, I was like, "Yo, I want to put out an album." He was like, all right, let's do it. So he just kept making beats. We started working together. And then Gene jumped in the picture, started helping us like structure and like add more to the music. Um, so yeah,
It
teamwork,
turned out
basic
incredibly
teamwork.
well. And
Thank you, man.
you were saying those last two tracks, with your letter to my past self, or sorry, letter to my
Letter to my
past.
pen. Yeah,
Yeah. So you say a line, trying to walk in your shoes, not before I
not
wear
long
out
before
my
I
own
wear
feet,
out my own
long
souls.
before my own souls. Yes, excuse me. For
Yeah,
some reason, my eyes aren't working and focusing on my notes that I wrote down. But
it's all good.
say that line again for the people that are listening.
Um, fuck, you gotta.
Trying
What was
trying to
it?
walk trying to walk in your shoes, not before
Trying
I
to
wear
walk
out
in
my
your
own.
shoes. Not long before I wear out my own souls. I think I've worn out my own soul. Yeah,
Mm, I like that a
yeah.
lot, and that track when people listen to it, or everybody finds their own meanings behind songs and things that they take away from it. But this whole experience, that song specifically, was it relatively healing to you? Did you feel like healed after getting some of this out of there and being able to put it into words and being able to go and maybe put stuff out into the world and not just keep stuff in? Because I find like a lot of people who have problems or have things that they're dealing with, it all gets bottled up, and then eventually, they can't deal with it. But it was this process, specifically, again, the last tune, uh letter to my past. Is there something there that you really felt was like a healing factor to go and go through this process?
Very, bro. And I'm glad you brought that up. Like, that's what I want to do with my music is like not only heal myself, but heal the listeners if they've been through something similar. Chris will tell you, man, when he first played that on his loop station, because he like plays the keys and then he recorded that. And when he first played it, I was like, just keep it going, bro. That's when I just started writing, started writing. And the words, like, I didn't even have to think about it, bro. Like the emotion from the music, the instrumental itself, just like brought it out of me. And I remember like I was barely even thinking about what I wanted to write. It was almost like free writing. I was freestyle writing, and it was just coming out of me, coming out of me. And then I remember when I was done with it, like I wrote it in like 15, 20 minutes, bro. Like it was crazy. And then I remember when I read it out loud to Chris, like I started crying, he started crying, and we both just like hugged each other, like a real bro hug. Like we just held each other for like a good 20 seconds, and we are like, "This is it, bro. Like that's it." And I remember being like, "Man, that felt so good to just write that and let all that out." And yeah, it's something that like after going through a breakup like that, um, I didn't hold any grudges towards her. Like I only could look at myself and see like the mistakes that I've made and forgive myself for what I've done. And so for me writing that, it was like me writing it's almost like an apology letter, like I'm
Yeah,
sorry for the way that I was. Like
with the
this is what I,
wish you the best.
that
There's
as well.
also
Yeah,
another one
that
that
as
ties
well.
into that.
Yeah, that song as well.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
So
step on your toes there. If you were saying
that's all
something
good.
there.
No, it's all good. Um, yeah, both of those songs were healing for me because I realized once I started writing that music, like how much I was still holding on to from that.
Mm.
And honestly, like healing takes a long time, and you don't realize how much you're holding on to until like life just starts bringing it out of you somehow. And you might think you're healed, you might think you've gotten over it, but it's still in there. It's only once you start to like find the outlet for it. And for me, like um, rapping and writing those two songs were it really like helped me dive into my subconscious and like my repressed feelings and you know just be like what could I have done to like make it better and like where did we go wrong? I know I made certain mistakes, and that's what kind of led to things like messing up. So I just had to like acknowledge all of my mistakes and like things that I've done, and then forgive myself for it. And me writing these songs was a way to like get all of that out.
100%. And again, it's something that if people, if you're watching right now and you haven't listened to it, you got to go and take it in, because it's a good listen from front to back, and goes through a lot of different stories and stuff that beatboxers and people just in general can connect with. But those last two songs
Exactly.
definitely are, that have that healing property to them, and might make an average person and or your friendly neighborhood beatbox host go and sit back and maybe take a thought. So I do appreciate that from me, just saying thank you for that, because that was yeah, it's good to get
Yeah.
those moments. And uh on a totally different note, it's your F the judges. Now that beat, yo, that beat's grimy, dog.
Yeah. Shout out to Elias's producer. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, so Elias, better known as Swish Beatbox, this song was his idea. It was his concept. And he was like, yo, I'm gonna send you over a couple different beats. And that first part was actually supposed to be one of Inky's beats, but he was like, I don't know if it's really gonna fit in here. So he got his producer to like send over, those two different vibes.
Hmm.
Um, and he told me the concept. He was like, "Yo, I want to make a song kind of like Jonah Lucas, I'm Not a Racist, with like those
Yeah, yeah.
two different perceptions, um, perspectives." And so I was like, "All right, let's do it." And he felt like this would make a very big impact on the beatbox community. And the plan was like we have a video for it as well, but we didn't release it because we wanted to release it right after GBB.
Yeah.
This is like exclusive news too. I don't even know if I should be saying it, but
Exclusive, exclusive.
but yeah. So we wanted to release the video and the song after GBB because we know that there's always controversy surrounding these battles. Any battle that happens, there's always going to be some shit talkers and people online being like, just giving their opinions and just a lot of hate, and throughout the years, there's been a lot of hate in the community on like specific beatboxers because they felt like they shouldn't have won the battle and they're like hating on that person. Like, how are you going to hate on them? It's not their fault. The judges picked who they did and then they want to hate the judges. So this whole song is like, the online community, the haters being like, man, fuck the judges. Like, I could do this better than them. Like, they think they're such great judges, like sitting on their keyboard, like just talking shit. So I was like, you know what? Like, let me spit some knowledge. Like, let me, so I gave both perspectives. So,
Absolutely,
yeah,
man. I again thoroughly enjoyed that track, and it made me laugh because there's so many points where if you're in a battle, if you're in the battle, you have nothing to do with the decision that was made by somebody else's opinion of you when they're watching it from the judges table. And the
exactly.
only thing you can do is do your best job and try to convince them that you should be the winner in this battle, in the competition, right? So without you having anything to do with another person other than just showcasing yourself and your skills, you all of a sudden get this halo, this this black cloud around your head, being like, oh, we should always just make fun little snippet notes of them. And it's always been something that kind of frustrates me when I hear stuff, because even if you don't agree with a decision of a judge, the judges are put there because they've established themselves in the community or have proven themselves in battles and have been given that nod, that head nod of being like, okay, you have the opportunity to go and decide. You're skilled enough in our in our world, and you have enough knowledge in our world to go and make a decision that would represent us correctly. Excuse my voice, but it's a good thing you put this out, and I'm excited to go and see the video that you guys have for it, because I assume it's just going to be
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah. We wanted to redo like the first part a bit once we all got to Poland. And, but yeah, I think we're I'm gonna wait to release the video probably until after the next GBB. That'll probably like have a big impact, but people should still definitely listen to the song and kind of like take it in, you know, and realize like it's a big difference, like just watching from your laptop or from your TV or wherever you're listening to and like actually being there. And not even just that, like the crowd is watching it from a certain perspective as opposed to the judges. The judges are critically like watching these battlers and trying to think, and you know, they're like forming in their mind like every single, like they're keeping in mind every single category from the musicality, technicality,
Mm-hmm.
originality, creativity. They're thinking about all these things to come up with their decision. And they're coming up with the decision like on the spot. It's not like they get a lot of time to think about it, but you know, like we trust these judges because they've battled a lot, they've been in a lot of battles, they know what to look for. Um, and sometimes when you're in the crowd, you're with your friends, there's a lot of noise around, you're watching these battles and you're just like having fun. You're not sitting there critically trying to analyze, you know, these beatboxers. You're more watching and having fun. Yet to a certain degree, you're watching and you're trying to figure out like who's winning, but you're not a judge. Like I've been on both sides of that. I've been the judge, I've been in the crowd, and I know like the kind of different energy you need to be on both ends. And when you're a judge, like it's different, you know. And also, like the judges are usually sitting on stage, so they're hearing it differently than how you're hearing it in the crowd. So it's not always going to be the same. And at the end of the day, like it's subjective. Like who the judge thinks won, like it's on them, and that's out of your control. And sometimes you just have to accept that. Like beatboxing is a very subjective art form, and we're trying to like pick a winner. It's hard. It's really hard. And I made like a couple points of that in the song, like, you know, especially when you're trying to judge your friends, like people that you've beatboxed with a lot, people that you've actually gotten very close with, to sit there and like objectively beatbox them as if you're listening for the first time. Like that's a tough thing to do. Um, so there's a lot of factors that play into that. Um, but I definitely like, I feel like I touch upon it. And the reason why in that first part, I, I mentioned Mark, you know, Mark Martin, is because he was one of the people that got a lot of hate when, in the 2016 American Championships, when everyone watched that, like they started hating on Mark and Kayla, you know, like as if they were the ones to blame. Like Mark killed it. I was there. You know, I watched the battles live. It's a different energy than like what you're gonna get when you're watching the videos online. So I made a point to like bring that up because I know like they've gotten a lot of hate for that, um, and it's not fair. You know, it's not fair to like, especially in a community that's supposed to be so loving, and beatboxing comes from love. Like the reason why we beatbox is because we love it. Like if there's so much love and positive energy, then you know, like think twice before you say something nasty online. Like really think about how it's gonna affect the beatboxer involved, and they're gonna be reading the comments, you know. So like be wary of that. Like, do you want to spread hate? You know, do you want to be the one to spread that kind of negativity onto the community, um, especially like with something that you truly love doing. So it's something that every beatboxer should think about before they like, you know, decide like what kind of message they want to put out.